The GVM 1500D, I bought the 3 sets. So there's 1, 2, and the third one is over there. And I'm using my own C-stands, but then this stand right here came in the set. It was about $700, almost $700 for the set. These go on sale every so often on Amazon, and I'll link below because I do like these RGB lights for certain applications, but I wanted to get these for still photography, and for that purpose of getting more full body portraits using RGB lighting, I don't think I'm going to go with the JVMs, and instead use another solution that I'm going to get to in this video. But I'll just show very quickly of what I like with these lights so far. The price is right, so that's a start. And what I like about on the back, you can put on your NPF Sony batteries here to operate it, and these are very simple. They have an app that I haven't used, but since I'm not going to keep these, I'm not going to go over the app, but you turn it on here. I have it set to green, and with this, you can set 3 modes. You can do the hue, the saturation of the hue, and I have the saturation set to 100%. And then you can go into the bicolor mode by hitting it again, and now you're in the bicolor mode. And then you can toggle between 3200 and 5600 Kelvin. And on this side, you can see this is the front of one. So you can see there's plastic barn doors. It's a little mixture of plastic and light metal. I don't know what kind of metal it is. It's somewhat sturdy, but and it's really thin and lightweight. The yoke, it's okay. It's not gonna be something I would travel around a lot with and be rough with. This is something that I would have kept in the studio and never moved it because I don't really trust the durability of these lights. They're just very functional, and I like the RGB. Just having RGB. GVM makes several versions of different wattage strength. This is supposed to be 75 watts, and it's 1500D. Then there's I think a 1300, a 1200, 1000, and then there's an 800, an 800 and 850, which is the models, I believe, the strength that they started with. And they're not bad. I'm gonna turn off some lights to show you the RGB capabilities. And it's for the purposes of RGB, this is great. This is really good. It's exactly what I thought it was gonna be. And I would hold on to this if I were using this for video. But when it comes to stills, and here's where I'm gonna get to the negatives. When it comes to stills, it's a lot harder to get the look I want with 75 watts. I need a lot more strength than 75 watts for my still photography. I do full body, and if I were only gonna do a cover the head, like a headshot or from the chest up, this might work for me because the smaller your subject, the less light you need. But since I'm gonna use a full body and maybe multiple people in the shot, I just need either 4 more sets of 3s of these, or just more powerful lights. That's what it comes down to. I thought these were going to be powerful enough. They really aren't. So I have this at 100% right now, and the wall. I did a light reading of the wall, and I'm not shooting. My light meter is not set for photography. It's just set for video, and right now hitting the wall, it's like a 1.4. It's really low. There's not a lot of light on full blast. So one of the negatives about this light is that even though they advertise it as 75 watts, the 1500D is supposed to be one of the more powerful lights that the GVM is releasing. When you go to RGB, it's not 75. But when you go to the bicolor, let me switch to the bicolor, you see how much brighter it just got? It's using more of the LED bulbs there, and it's just stronger. Right now I have it at 4500 Kelvin, and 4500 Kelvin, that's in the middle of the scale. And that's where all of the lights are being used, and it's blasting the most amount of light, and it's about a little over a stop more light than when you go to RGB. So I'm going to cycle through the bicolor now. So that's 4500. Let me go down to 3200. That's 3200. And now let me go to 56. That's 56. This is a very common in many cheap and expensive bicolor lights, where because of the patterns that they're using, you're getting half the not half, but you're getting not as strong of an output as if it were all tungsten or all daylight. So that's just a common issue with all of these bicolor. This is no different. So at 4500 Kelvin, it's pretty bright. It's even blowing out on my camera. But the minute I switch to RGB, there's a drop in exposure. A big drop, in my opinion. Lose about a stop, maybe a little more than a stop. And it's like that for all of the colors too. So when I'm in still photography, this is simply not enough light. The RGB lights are very trendy. A lot of people are using them, but you can't really beat, when it comes to budget and light output, you can't beat using a Fresnel or the single spot LED lights like the Aperture 120D and just gelling it, using those color effects gels that you can purchase fairly cheaply in comparison. One brand that I've already used a lot, these are Lee filters. It's a decent budget brand, and you have different, this is 12 by 12 filters you could use. These are should be heat resistant, or at least for the LEDs should be heat resistant. They were for tungsten lights that get really hot. So I'll just do a comparison right now. This is one of the solid greens. I'm at F10 now, and that's very green to my eyes. I don't know what it looks like on this camera. This is about an F4 with, I know it's a 120D, it's a much more powerful light, but using these gels, it cuts about maybe a stop and a half of light, maybe even more depending on the brand of gel and the strength of the gel. But this one, I think, cuts it down by a stop and a half. But look, there's a huge coverage of this, and everyone for the longest time have been using gels. RGB lights, these are new. So now let me switch over to the RGB, and that's the RGB light now. It's at the same distance pretty much. It's green, and it's at F10. But in order to get the same exposure, I gotta go up to maybe 3 point or 2.8. It's like over two stops of a difference. So you can see the brightness. The coverage of this light, it is really spread out, and that's one of the reasons why I chose the 1500D as opposed to the 1000 or the 825, 850, because of even though they're LED panels, they get quite spotty. And I wanted it to have more coverage to cover a whole back, like make a whole wall a certain color. But you can do that with this one now too, and just back it off. So what I'm going to go with, it looks like what I'm going to go with now for my needs. Instead of using strobes, I am going to stick with the LED lights for my photography, but I'm just going to get more gels and gel these lights that I have, because I have more aperture lights. I have more those spot LED lights that are much more powerful than these GVMs and especially for the money. So it was a good test for me. And if you're in a similar situation and you're doing stills or just video, and you want to light a huge space or at least a room and not just shoot somebody's profile, from the chest up, then just stick with the gels. I think it's still the cheaper way to go.